This is a hurricane alert from Channel 10 Eyewitness News.
South Florida waits for Andrew as the hurricane heads west. Good evening, I'm Ann Bishop, and it is Saturday night at Eyewitness News in the hurricane season. First, let me tell you that in the next hour and throughout the night, we're going to tell you everything you possibly need to know about Andrew. But there are two thoughts I want to keep in mind. First, don't panic. And second, do take a hurricane seriously. Now, we who have lived here for years have been through this before. It's exciting, and it carries potential danger, but it is simply a matter of preparation. Sitting tight, moving to a shelter if you're in an area that the authorities tell us is dangerous, and remembering, don't be foolhardy. Now we're going to begin our special Eyewitness News Hour, where we're going to bring you all the latest things for preparation and how to prepare yourself and what to expect to come, but we're going to start at the National Hurricane Center and forecaster Miles Miller. Miles?
The latest coordinates for 11 p.m. for Hurricane Andrew, 25.6 degrees north latitude, 71.9 degrees west longitude. And this position is 520 miles east of Miami, Florida. Now, the hurricane has slipped just a little bit south the past few hours, a couple of tenths of degrees, but basically it's continuing on a due westward course at about 14 miles per hour. The wind speeds have picked up. We are now indicating 110 miles per hour for the maximum sustained wind. As the storm moves west, we have a hurricane warning up for the northwest Bahamas, and we have a hurricane watch up for the Florida East Coast from Titusville southward through the Keys. We possibly will be putting up a hurricane warning for some portion of Florida on Sunday morning. As the storm moves westward, we expect the hurricane conditions to affect the Bahamas tomorrow and somewhere in Florida on Monday.
That was Miles Lawrence at the National Hurricane Center. We've talked to a lot of people there in the last few hours, haven't they? They've been busy people.
Oh, they're going to be even more busy. Now, the last time we sat here together talking about a hurricane was in 1979 with Hurricane David. Long time ago, and that storm at the last second moved to the north.
It was right offshore when it went north.
Well, it was so close that we thought for sure this is going to be it. It's another situation where the exact same thing is happening. Actually, a little different because the storm's coming at us from a different angle. But this one may not go off to the north. And the latest position that we just had from the National Hurricane Center, and the latest forecasting from the computer, indicates that this may hit somewhere in South Florida directly this time.
Well, we're interested in that high that's above it and everything that's happening, and you're the man to explain it.
All right, I'm going to do that. Let's take a look at the map right now. We're going to show you the latest pictures from the GOES weather satellite, and the last picture in the loop is the one we just got in, and we've colorized it here to help you look a little bit more clear at the hurricane center. There is the center of the storm. In the purple area is pretty much where the hurricane force winds are, and the colored section out here is pretty much where the tropical storm force winds are at this time. Now, the storm is continuing to move off to the west here, but if you look at the last couple of pictures, it's dipped a little bit farther to the south. Now, already some of the spiral bands are beginning to affect some of the spiral bands begin to affect the Bahamas out here, and it looks as if some of the storm conditions may be spreading over the Bahamas already tonight. And the storm continues to move in a westerly direction. If you're plotting the storm, these figures just in: 25.6 north, longitude 71.9 west, 520 miles east of Miami, moving west at 14 with winds now 110 miles per hour. So this is a strong Category 2 and almost a Category 3 storm with a pressure of about 28.39 inches of mercury. We're going to go live to the National Hurricane Center now and talk to Miles Lawrence and see what he thinks about it. Miles, we've got almost a major storm on our hand here. What do you think?
Yes, we do. The hurricane is strengthening, and there's every possibility that it will continue to strengthen before it reaches Florida.
All right, now just how strong do you think this storm could get? How much time does it have, and what effect would the Gulf Stream have on the storm when it passed over it?
Well, the Gulf Stream certainly could help to make it stronger. We think it could easily go to 120 miles an hour. Which would make it a Category 3 hurricane, or getting real close to a Category 3 hurricane. and it could even be higher, but we have no way of really knowing what the upper limit is right now.
All right, we're still looking at a possibility of hurricane warnings in South Florida by morning. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, Miles Lawrence, thank you very much. From the National Hurricane Center, we'll be checking back there shortly, I'm sure. Ann?
Thank you very much, Don. We have eyewitness news crews all over South Florida to bring you the very latest information that you need to know about Hurricane Andrew. Eyewitness News reporter Patty Oates is at the Metro-Dade Emergency Operations Center. That's in Kendall, and is joining us now with a live report. Patty?
And tonight it's pretty quiet here at the Office of Emergency Management, but tomorrow morning certainly it will be a different story. This is the nerve center for the county. This is where the decision makers will gather tomorrow. Police, fire, Marine Patrol, utilities, Florida Power and Light, Southern Bell, and of course the director of the Office of Emergency Management. Representatives of all county agencies will be here. Some are here tonight already. They're answering phones at rumor control. These lines have been busy since they opened earlier today.
Where is this company? Hurricane Hotline, may I help you?
Hundreds of calls are coming in to the rumor control hotline. A half dozen county workers are taking calls from people concerned mostly about where the storm is and when it will hit. They also want to know if they'll need to evacuate their homes. Right now, no evacuation order is in effect, but if that order does come down, you'll need to plan to evacuate if you live in the area marked in red. It's all of Miami Beach, Surfside, all the barrier islands, everything east of the intercoastal. In a Category 2 or 3, those in the red and yellow zones would need to evacuate. That's generally everything east of US 1. And in a Category 4 and 5 storm, all residents in red, yellow, and blue would need to head to safe ground. That includes a big area of residents south of 200th Street, west of US 1. Okay, and we'll come back to those evacuation routes in just a second, but we do have our first media advisory here. It says that the Dade County Building and Zoning Department is urging all contractors working in Dade County to immediately clear their working sites of all debris and secure all the construction materials. It says all loose objects must be secure or removed from construction sites, and that comes from Dade County Office of Emergency Management. Kate Hale is the director of that office. She's with me now. Kate, what should residents be doing right now?
Residents should be getting their hurricane plans finalized. If the storm continues on its present track, it's very likely that we will need to issue an evacuation order sometime tomorrow. They need to be ready to go immediately if that evacuation order is issued.
A couple of questions there. How long will it take? How many people are we talking about? And why wait until tomorrow?
Well, first of all, we're talking about 170,000 people unless the storm strengthens. And it's important that everybody get where they're going as quickly as possible. The traffic will be heavy. There'll be a lot of things that will be taking place tomorrow. Those people who don't need to leave need to be securing their homes and making sure that they've got their windows shuttered and the supplies in. Boaters need to conclude their hurricane plans and make sure that they're not out on the water in deteriorating weather conditions.
Is this just a case of waiting to see which way this hurricane is actually going to go?
At this point, it looks as though on the current track, it looks very, very likely that this is going to be a Dade County storm. We'll have better information early in the morning.
Okay, thanks very much, Kate Hale. I know you have a lot of things to think about between now and tomorrow morning. She will be here along with her staff at 6 a.m. and the county manager. That will come after the 5 a.m. update when they'll have a better idea of just what kind of storm we might be facing. And they will decide after that if and when any evacuation order might go into effect. Ann?
All right, Patty, thank you for that live report. Now, if you have any questions that perhaps we haven't answered, or there's something in particular you want to ask, do call the rumor control hotlines. In Dade County, that number on your screen, 596-8735. In Broward, 357-8454. And Monroe County residents can call 289-6018 or 1-800-427-8340. We'll be repeating those numbers throughout the evening so that you'll be able to get them if you didn't get them this time. The agency in charge of opening hurricane shelters is the American Red Cross. Now, tonight preparations are underway to ready nearly 30 shelters in Dade and Monroe counties. If you are one of the thousands of people who might need to head to a shelter, Eyewitness News reporter Gilda Unruh has this advice.
Thank you for holding. May I help you?
The phones have been ringing off the wall at the American Red Cross offices in Dade County. Most callers are wondering about what to do in the event of an evacuation.
A lot of people on the beach are really afraid that they're going to be flooded out really soon. We don't expect that to happen before in the morning, so no, you should be safe for tonight. We have people who are ill who are concerned about where can I go? Well, if you're ill, you still can come to the shelters, bring your medication with you.
Should you need to go to a shelter, there are some important things you'll want to bring. A first aid kit, any necessary medicine, baby food and diapers, toiletries, a battery-operated radio, a flashlight, blankets or sleeping bags, identification, also valuable papers such as insurance documents. Bring cash, as well as cards, games, and books to keep yourself entertained. Remember, you cannot bring pets to an emergency shelter. No pets will be allowed. Now, in order to operate the many emergency shelters, the Red Cross is busy tonight calling in a staff of some 1,100 volunteers.
If you're a trained Red Cross volunteer, it would be wonderful if you can go to the shelter where you've been assigned to work. If you would like to help, but you have not been trained, please call us.
Now in Broward, preparations are also underway by the Red Cross to open shelters there as well. In fact, they're asking that all their emergency shelter managers report to their assigned shelter tomorrow morning between 7 and 8. In Miami, I'm Gilda Unruh, Channel 10 Eyewitness News.
Supermarkets, drugstores, other supply shops have been packed with customers stocking up on hurricane supplies. Our coverage continues with Eyewitness News reporter Linda Hushin, who joins us with a live report from Fort Lauderdale. Been a busy day for a lot of people.
Extremely busy, as you say, up and down the coast. The key words tonight are stocking up, not just at grocery stores, which some are open 24 hours, and hardware stores, most of which have closed by now, but also at drugstores like this Rite Aid near the 17th Street Causeway, which, as you can see, also has water, just one of those hot commodities that people have been grabbing up today.
People need to be doing right now the things they should have had ready by June 1st. They need to make sure that they have hurricane supplies in.
I've never been in a hurricane. I'm new to Florida.
But newcomers and old-timers both could be found in the shopping mode today.
Batteries, flashlights, and tape. Now we're going to go get the wood.
I've been seeing a lot of community interest in plywood and boarding up windows, also tape for taping the windows, and several people have come in asking about generators also.
At the top of the priority list should be battery-operated radios to keep up with the latest news, and flashlights, so that means lots of batteries. And keep in mind, if you have a grill, it's a good idea to have plenty of supplies on hand so that you can use it if you have to, but also make sure you have lots of food that does not need to be prepared, and lots of drinking water. Estimate about a gallon per person per day. If you're on medication, make sure you have plenty of that on hand. And if you've got a baby, lots of baby supplies.
Avoid the rush.
Good advice. We all remember Hugo, but we might not realize what a storm with that kind of force could do to the heavily populated South Florida coast with all those windows to the water.
Some people have had these for years and have never used them before.
Now's the time to check the system.
So check those hurricane shutters while you're at it.
Making sure it's in place and making sure you've left yourself enough time to do everything that you need in your house before the winds start blowing.
Now, we know a lot of hurricanes have threatened this shore and then at the last minute have turned north. That means that some people, Anne, do have a tendency to get a little bit complacent. And of course, the main word of caution tonight is not to do that. It's best to be ready for anything.
Linda, it looks like people are still stocking up at this hour of the night behind you.
Yes, they are. In fact, quite a few stores are starting to run out of supplies tonight. The Winn-Dixie next door is out of water. A new supply was just brought in here to this Rite Aid, and people are heading over here for that.
Well, it's better to be safe than sorry, as we all know. Thank you very much, Linda, for that live report. The first hurricane of the Atlantic season is now on track to hit the Florida coast and the Bahamas on late Monday or Tuesday. The Bahamian government has issued a hurricane warning for its northern islands. Earlier this evening, we spoke to Sean Hall, duty officer with the Department of Meteorology in the Bahamas. Sean, all day long we've been hearing that people are not bracing for this storm. Is that correct?
Well, that has been the impression we've gotten here at the Met Office. Unfortunately, we've been spoiled over the last 25 years or so in that we haven't had any major hurricanes affect us. So Bahamians always think, oh, it's going to pass. The last one did. You know, that's the type of attitude that we've seen.
What are you asking them to do that they're not doing?
I think they're actually doing what we're asking them to do now. We're asking them, you know, to board up their houses and make last-minute preparations, secure your small boats if you have any, and take larger boats and put them in proper ports, and take your TV antenna down if you have one, that type of thing.
What about the tourists? What do you do about them, or are the hotels secure?
Well, the hotels are generally secure. It's pretty much left up to the hotel to handle it the way they see best. Generally, I think what they will do is put them in a conference room type of facility and keep them in the middle of the hotel somewhere to avoid any broken glass or anything like that.
Sean, what would be the most serious problem for you? Along the waterfront, where, of course, there could be a tidal surge. What about the inland areas of the country? Do they take a beating as well?
Yes, ma'am. We'll see some good flooding conditions tomorrow night. A lot of the areas in here, they flood when it's not that much rainfall. If we have 3 or 4 inches rain tomorrow, we're going to see a lot of flooding over here. And I'm sure we're going to see quite a few trees downed as well.
Do you have any kind of shelters that people can go to?
Yeah, we have quite a few shelters, actually, public school type of places or a library. And people are advised to be prepared to go to those shelters tomorrow evening.
Well, Sean, I hope it all goes well. Maybe we'll all be lucky and it'll dissipate and go away, even though that seems unlikely.
It does seem very unlikely, but we can always keep our fingers crossed.
Sean Hall from the Bahamas. Boat owners in South Florida busy tonight making special preparations for the hurricane. Eyewitness News reporter Louis Agari is at the Dinner Key Marina in Coconut Grove, and he joins us with a live report. Many people working on the boats tonight, or are they waiting for tomorrow?
No, tonight, and with good reason. An interesting statistic to start off with: 25% of all deaths that occur in hurricanes occur with people who wait until the last minute to secure their boats. They are caught doing so when the storm hits. There are approximately 110,000 registered boats in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. As you said, many of the owners were at various South Florida marinas tonight, battening down the hatches, doing whatever they need to do to secure their vessels.
Hurricane Andrew may still be miles away from South Florida, but many Miami boat owners didn't waste any time in going out to secure their boats tonight, and with good reason.
If the storm moves into the Dade County area, which is very, very possible, we're looking at that storm moving in early on Monday, which means that they have to do whatever they're going to do with that boat early on Sunday, and then look at forgetting it.
And many folks we spoke to have no intentions of forgetting about anything.
I wouldn't want to have to be here Monday morning trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my boat.
So you went ahead and came tonight and started preparing?
Well, I prepared. I've got everything off that I need that I think is important that won't get ruined in the storm, and then I'll try to move the boat and find someplace safe for it.
Boaters at Dinner Key, like many other South Florida marinas, really don't have a choice in the matter. The contract here specifically says that in the event of a hurricane, all boats must ship out.
If we have a surge at about 14 to 16 feet, I think that the boat will pop up and will be loose.
And then what will happen?
And then they're going to have a lot of insurance, because there's going to be a lot of damage done to the marina as well as the buildings.
Tonight, owners of smaller boats had no problems pulling their vessels from the water, but it's a different story for bigger boats, and the choices on where to take them aren't many.
Now, if you own a boat in Dade County, trying to secure it along the Miami River is just not an option. There simply aren't enough slips, and the river, well, it's congested enough as it is. Where are you guys going to go, you know?
Just somewhere south. Try to get as far away from other boats as we can and either anchor or tie up in the mangroves.
A risk some boat owners aren't willing to take. Many say they're not budging.
There's nowhere safer. There's nowhere safer than this.
But it can be pretty dangerous if you have a storm surge here. I mean, your boat's
There's
history.
a storm surge everywhere.
Many people we spoke to tonight saying the same thing. They don't want to move their boats. They say there is no safer place than right here on the marina. So you can see the marina is still right now pretty full. Many boats still here. A couple of slips are empty. People shipping out tonight. Many people we spoke to say they are going to leave tomorrow morning. But again, there are those saying that this is the safest place to be if the storm hits. Now, again, they will be responsible for any damage their boat incurs should their boat wash ashore or disrupt the marina here or any of the buildings around. Ann, back to you.
It is their responsibility, I think, to find safe harbor. But, you know, safe harbor is a little difficult to come by, to come into a cove or up a waterway that has any shelter. And you have so many people looking for them, Louis. I don't know what people are going to do.
I had a little trouble hearing you, but I think you're asking me about safe harbor. Many people that I spoke with say they are heading south towards the Keys. They say in the Keys there are many little inlets with mangroves that can offer that type of protection to their boats. They're thinking about that. As I said previously in the report, the Miami River is just not an option. If you don't already have a slip there, you can just forget about it. There are just too many boats. Some people also talking about going over to the Miami Marine Stadium near Key Biscayne. There's an inlet there, which they say also offers some protection.
All righty. Thank you, Louis, for that live report. And tomorrow on Channel 10, a special edition of This Week in South Florida with Michael Putney. It's called Tracking Hurricane Andrew. The 30-minute program will take a closer look at the storm's developments and potential threat to South Florida. That's tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock right here on Channel 10. And, of course, Don Noe will be back with the very latest on the hurricane just a little later in this program. We'll be right back with more of our continuing coverage of Hurricane Andrew.
A Time to Care message from Winn-Dixie, America's supermarket.
The little things family members can share are ageless.
To South Florida and the Keys right now, we are continuing to monitor the situation, and we are on top of the coverage all the way from South Florida to the Keys.
Stay with us for more coverage right after this break. Right now, let's take a look at those hotline numbers once again that you can call if you have any questions about Hurricane Andrew. Here is the Hurricane Hotline number. This is the Channel 7 Hurricane Hotline number, 930-5627. That's 930-5627. Call us if you have any questions, and stay with us for more.
Sunday, it's all the outtakes they never allowed you to see. In Living Color's outrageous blooper special. You can't get away with that. Then, Eleanor wants...
We do have closed captioning, but we also have this service for you so that you'll understand everything Don Noe is going to explain to you as we join him now at the weather map. Don?
All right, here's what we're going to tell you. The first thing we're going to tell you again is the latitude and longitude of the storm. Latitude 25.6 north, longitude 71.9 west. It's 520 miles to the east of Miami right now, and it is moving, although you can't see it, it is moving to the west at 14 miles per hour. The maximum winds are 110 miles per hour in this storm. Now, the hurricane watch is in effect from Titusville all the way down through the Dry Tortugas, and that does include South Florida. Hurricane watch means that it's possible within the next 36 hours that hurricane conditions will spread over the area, and hurricane warning is in effect for the Bahamas, and that means it is entirely possible that, or probable that hurricane conditions will strike the Bahamas sometime in the next 24 hours, and it's expected there. Andrew is a strong Category 2 storm now, very close to Category 3. And Category 3 is where we make the break and distinction between minor and major hurricane. So this thing is growing. At 11 p.m. tonight, there's the position. It has taken almost a due west track here in the last, let's say, 16 to 18 hours. Now, if we project this at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, it should be about 100 miles or so farther off, or about 90 miles farther off to the west here, and then somewhere along this purple line. And then by tomorrow night, at the same course and speed, it's important, the same course and speed would take it somewhere in the Bahamas here, from Grand Bahama Island down through Andros, and the time that it would strike South Florida at this course and speed would be sometime early in the morning on Monday. The latest projections right now are indicating the highest probabilities for South Florida, including Dade County down here and somewhere down in the Keys. Now, that's based upon the latest satellite indication that the storm may be moving a little bit farther to the south than what we thought earlier. Let's take a look at the satellite in motion now. We'll go and we'll check that out. It's over here. What we're looking at is from Wednesday morning until the current time. And notice the storm was going to the north. It was still a tropical storm at that stage. It slowed down on Friday, and then during the day today it has moved ahead, and now an eye is visible. Now, we're going to play this a couple more times, and you can watch for yourself that
out the window when any little piece of gravel, anything could come along and break it right in your face. So that's our recommendation. Do not waste your time taping windows. Spend your time doing productive things.
Okay, one more thing, Brian. We're getting a ton of calls for the airports. We still don't have an answer yet as far as what the airports will do. Have you heard anything?
No, but I can tell you how they have reacted in the past to hurricanes, Hurricane Hugo in Charleston. The decision will be made sometime tomorrow depending on the speed of the storm, and each airline will make that decision separately on when they're going to quit bringing planes in. And when they quit bringing planes in, that's when it'll be more difficult to get out, obviously. So that decision will be made during the day tomorrow, and of course it'll be announced through, as a matter of fact, the Dade County Office of Emergency Management and Broward County Emergency Management will get that information, and hopefully they'll give us some warning, because I know a lot of folks are scheduled on airplanes, especially elderly folks. I've checked with some tonight, scheduled on airplanes that are going to leave here tomorrow in the first part of the day.
All right, thanks, Brian. We will continue to be here in the Storm Center on up till the midnight hour and probably past that to answer your questions. So we'll be down here and we'll check back in a couple of minutes, Jerry, and see what else is going on. Back to you.
Hey, Brian, thank you. Now grab your pens once more. Here's some more important numbers you can call for up-to-the-minute information on Hurricane Andrew. For the latest recorded information, you can call us here at Channel 4 News in Dade.
Hurricane conditions could affect your area. Now, if a warning goes up, that means that those conditions could affect the area within 24 hours. Now, once that warning goes up, you should be prepared to take action.
When a warning goes up, now is the time to put the finishing touches on all plans. Make sure property is secured. Double-check supplies, like food, water, batteries, and flashlights. Gas up early to avoid lines at service stations. Gas could be unavailable for several days after the storm strikes. Turn refrigerators and freezers to the coldest settings. This should preserve food and beverages for up to 2 days after the electricity goes out. If you're planning to leave your home, leave early to avoid traffic jams. Be ready to evacuate immediately if the order is given for your area. Stay informed of the hurricane's progress. Once you know where the hurricane is likely to strike and you've made your plans, here are some guidelines. The most important one is to stay indoors. Open a window on the side away from the wind. And beware of the calm that comes with the eye of a hurricane. Rain and wind can stop during the passage of the eye, only to pick up again. Use the telephone for emergencies only. Phone lines will be needed for emergency officials. Open the refrigerator or freezer only when needed to preserve the cold.
And of course, we'll keep you updated throughout the night and tomorrow, and I'm sure we'll be talking about these things again. And
can't say them often enough. Thank you very much, Raina, for that. And now we're going back to Eyewitness News reporter Patty Oates, who is at the Metro Dade Emergency Operations Center in Kendall. Patty?
And emergency management is right now fairly quiet. They are certainly gearing up for a very busy day tomorrow. Already, there are signs of some activity here at the Rumor Control Hotline. They're handling hundreds of phone calls, people asking if they need to head for higher ground. So far, no evacuation order is issued yet in Dade County. If it is, it will come sometime after 6 in the morning. Now, if we have a Category 3 hurricane, it could affect residents east of Biscayne Boulevard and parts of US 1 all the way to the Atlantic. Now, the big concern certainly here is the storm surge.
The storm surge is that wall of water, not the wall of water, but literally a rising of the ocean that occurs in conjunction with the hurricane. And that traditionally is what has killed 9 out of 10 people who've died as a result of hurricanes. Although now, with condominiums and high-rises and the different types of structures we live in, we would anticipate seeing a great deal of additional damage as a result of wind that historically perhaps was not seen.
Okay, now Dade County Manager Joaquin Avignon will gather his staff here tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. shortly after the 5 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center to decide if and when any evacuation will be ordered, and we understand it certainly is very likely at this point. There are emergency shelters standing by in case that evacuation order should come down. Ann?
Thank you very much, Patty, for that report. As you can see, the people behind Patty taking those phone calls. If you have any questions about the hurricane, about evacuations, or what you think you should do about your own home, you are asked to call the Rumor Control Hotlines. Once again, those phone numbers for you: in Dade, 596-8735, in Broward, 357-8454, and Monroe County residents can call 289-6018 or 1-800-427-8340, and of course that is a free toll line. We will be back with more of our continuing coverage of Hurricane Andrew and some of the other news of the day. We'll be right back.
Car and Driver has named it to its 10 best list 4 years in a row. Now, there's a Mitsubishi Eclipse you can lease for just $500 down and as little as $149 a month. But hurry, this Eclipse will soon disappear.
Test drive the Eclipse at your Dade Broward Mitsubishi Motors dealer today.
6 years. Lois Frankel fighting for us in Tallahassee. When Governor Martinez tried to restrict a woman's right to choose, Lois Frankel fought him and won. When the powerful tobacco industry refused to stop peddling its poison to Florida children, Lois Frankel stopped them with a tough new law restricting tobacco sales to our young people. Lois Frankel. Lois Frankel for Congress. We need this fighter in Washington.
3 brave women fled Red China in hope of finding freedom. Instead, they found the INS, put under guard, and isolated from even the sunshine. A year later, they remain in the same hotel room, bound in a maze of red tape. The I-Team wants to know why.
There must be some kind of depression. 你们想有的时候要哭啊，有的时候要
Yes, she said. Always.
We don't just cover the story, we uncover it. The Eyewitness News I-Team. The investigations continue Monday.
Should family values or race become the determining factor for raising a child? On the next Maury Povich Show.
Maury, Monday at 10, only on 10.
Vote for America. Buy American now during the huge 92 model closeout sale at Mullinax Ford, South Florida's one-price superstore. Buy a 92 Explorer XL with air for only $15,000, or this Tempo 4-door automatic air, stereo, and more for just $10,500. You'll find the lowest closeout prices on every 92 model, like this Ranger XLT with air and all this equipment for just $9,800. The selection will go down, the prices will not. Our final one low price of the year is all you need to pay during the big closeout sale at Mullinax Ford South in Margate.
A murder outside a Coconut Grove night spot is under investigation tonight. It happened early this morning near Suzanne's. Police say the unidentified victim was gunned down in the parking lot while walking to his car. Witnesses described the gunman as a young Latin male driving a two-toned gold Nissan Maxima. Anyone with information about the shooting is asked to please call Miami police. No bond today for 3 more suspects charged in connection with the murder of a Vietnamese medical student. So far, a total of 8 people have been arrested for the beating death of Nguyen Nguyen. The 3 arrested yesterday are 22-year-old William Madelone Jr., his 19-year-old brother Christopher, and 19-year-old Derek Kozma. All of these men are from Tamarack. 2 of the victims killed in last weekend's massacre at a North Dade night spot were remembered today. The body of Hilda Latoy Reynolds was laid to rest this afternoon. She is the young woman who was celebrating her birthday at the Taste of the Islands restaurant when several gunmen opened fire on the crowd. Funeral services were also held for Christopher Morris. He was one of 4 people killed in that shooting spree. 18 others were also injured. So far, there have been no arrests in that case. Our coverage of Hurricane Andrew will continue in just a moment.
The Europeans make fine luxury cars. We know Lexus has acquired thousands of them in trades for our Lexus LS 400. Check out the rate of exchange at your South Florida Lexus dealer.
I have no idea what's going to happen to me, and I love it.
Next, Donahue, stepping out with the incomparable Miss Liza Minnelli.
What was it like growing up with your wonderful mother?
I was wondering what it was like to have worked with Sammy Davis Jr.
How do you feel about working with Frank Sinatra?
How is it working with Robert De Niro?
Is there anyone you haven't worked with that you'd like to?
Life Among the Stars with award-winning Liza Minnelli. Next, Donahue.
Donahue, Monday at 9, only on 10. This could be the year. Do you know what to do? Now that hurricane season is here, keep it tuned to Channel 10's seasoned weather team. If the power goes out, listen to Eyewitness News updates on Waxy 106 FM.
25 miles an hour.
You're in control.
Hurricane Andrew strengthens and a hurricane watch goes into effect for all of South Florida.
Do we look for the storm to continue to strengthen? Are conditions favorable for that?
Yes, they are, Don. We are expecting some further strengthening.
All right, we'll definitely have to watch this one. It's the first major storm that we've had down here since 1979.
Count on Channel 10 for weather updates and what you need to know throughout the threat of the storm. And Sunday morning at 11, tune in for a special report as Eyewitness News tracks the progress of Hurricane Andrew. When you need more, watch Eyewitness News.
We're going now to a phone call from Noel Brown of the Bahamian Meteorological Services, who's going to tell us if anything has changed much in the Bahamas this evening. Noel, can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
What's happening?
Well, as you know, we have a hurricane virtually on our doorstep. It's moving this way, and it seems as if the two islands that are in the direct path of the storm are Eleuthera and Abaco.
Obviously, it's bearing down on the islands, but you've seen this before, and certainly it's your line of work being a meteorologist. Does this look terribly, terribly severe to you? Could it damage the Bahamas?
100 miles an hour winds are, pretty strong, and plus the islands are flat, low-lying, so we could have some flooding, and it could be. Yeah, we could have extensive damage.
Well, considering the look of the Bahamas and the look of, for instance, Miami, would it be much worse for you? Could it do a lot more damage there than it would here?
Yeah, it would, because, again, our islands are essentially narrow islands. They don't extend maybe just a couple miles across, unlike Florida, which is a larger landmass. So we would have, more damage.
It's my understanding that they're having a great deal of difficulty over there getting the tourists and the Bahamian natives even to take it very seriously. Has there been any change in that yet?
I'm not sure of that. I've heard reports, but I couldn't say with any certainty that that is so. My understanding from where I'm sitting is that the radio stations, we have one of their announcers with us, and the young lady, she's passing on the information direct to the station, and they're playing it to the Bahamian public. So I would imagine that, it's not a lack of not getting information. Now, whether or not people are taking it seriously is another question. But I suspect that most people are, because I have heard reports from Abaco that stores will be open tomorrow, and people are taking precautions. They're battening up and doing all that is necessary.
Well, Noel, if it maintains the course that it is now on, how many hours are we looking at before it reaches?
Sometime tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow afternoon. Well, maybe people feel that they have time tomorrow morning to do what has to be done if they haven't done it already.
People are usually like that. I guess it's more exciting having to rush, but I imagine most of the people in Abaco, they are doing what is necessary, just in case the storm should pass over that island.
Well, thank you, Noel, very much for talking to us, and we'll be checking in with you again throughout the night and certainly throughout tomorrow. Noel Brown, the Bahamian Meteorological Services, and the latest information from the Bahamas. As we continue our coverage of Hurricane Andrew, if you're just joining us, I'd like to remind you that during this hour, our news is not only being closed caption, it is also being signed by Blanche Helphand, who is sitting here next to me. She's representing the Deaf Services Bureau, and she's going to tell you everything that we have to say that you will find very important, especially if it comes from Don Know at the Map. Don?
All right, Ann, we're going to talk about some specific aspects to this hurricane as it pertains to our situation tonight. There is a storm, obviously, the eye of the storm becoming clearly visible now as the system intensifies and deepens. Now let's talk about the first thing, which is going to be dividing the storm into different quadrants. If we divide it north and south and east and west like this, we come up with the northeast, northwest, northeast, southeast, and southwest quadrants. Now, in this particular situation, because the storm is moving off to the west, and because the rotation of the storm is counterclockwise, we're going to have a strong and a weak quadrant. The strongest quadrant is going to be the northwest quadrant, because in that area, you're going to add the motion of the forward motion of the storm to the intensity of the storm and to the wind velocity. So if you have a 100-mile-an-hour wind or 110-mile-an-hour wind right here, you add that to a 15-mile-an-hour movement, and you've got an effective wind of about 125 miles per hour. Down here in the southeastern quadrant, or toward the south, you subtract the forward movement of the storm from the wind velocity. So instead of a 110-mile-an-hour wind down here, you'd have more like a 95-mile-an-hour wind. So it does make a difference what side of the eye you are going to be on. For the storm surge, this is this rising of the water that Kate Hale talked about a little while ago. And what it does is it gradually rises before the eye of the storm. This idea of a wall of water rushing in like a tidal wave is really not a realistic idea. You think of a gradual rising of the water ahead of the eye of the storm. In the light green area, 2 to 4 feet. In the dark green area, 8 to 10 feet. And that's going to affect the northern Bahamas sometime tomorrow. All right, hurricane force winds generally confined near the center and just a little bit to the north of the center. Again, in that strong quadrant, the tropical storm force winds more or less surrounding it and primarily down to the south where the weaker quadrant lies. Now, as far as tornadoes are concerned, we have those to worry about as well. Usually these form out in the spiral band, so I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we had a tornado watch issued for much of South Florida sometime late tomorrow night or early Monday when the time the storm is expected to strike. Also rainfall potential. Now, we have one thing going in our favor here. Because the storm is moving at a rather fast clip at 15 miles per hour, although we could have some very brief and torrential rains and some low flooding, it doesn't look like it will have the potential for very, very heavy, strong rains that we get with very slow-moving or stagnant hurricanes. So the faster that storm goes, the better off we're going to be. Again, the position as of 11 p.m. tonight, we're looking at latitude 25.6 north, longitude 71.9 west, 525 miles east of Miami. The winds are west at 14. The movement is west at 14. The winds are 110 miles per hour. Central pressure has dropped to 28.32 inches of mercury, a strong Category 2 and almost a Category 3 storm. I'll be back with more a little bit later. Ann?
All right, thank you, Don. We're going now to the National Hurricane Center and Miles Lawrence for the latest information. Miles?
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
Just fine.
Busy, I can see.
Yes, always busy.
Is there anything new other than the movement of the storm?
Not really. The storm continues to head almost due west, and so the highest threat, as far as we can tell, is to South Florida. We'll be entertaining the idea of putting up a hurricane warning for some portion of Florida tomorrow morning.
You probably know by 5 o'clock in the morning, I think.
Well, at probably 5 o'clock, might be 8 o'clock, but they'll be looking at the 5 o'clock advisory to put out a warning.
Miles, let me ask you, obviously I know nothing about meteorology, but I'm kind of curious about this high that's sort of controlling the storm. Is there a possibility it could force it south?
Well, we've been looking at that because you may have noticed the latitude has moved south just a little bit over the past 6 hours, but all of our guidance indications from the computer models that we run suggest that the situation is going to remain about the same. If it does turn it south, the question is, well, could it miss Florida altogether? And we would be very lucky if that happened.
Well, we could, of course, if it did move a little farther south, it's possible we could take a glancing blow as opposed to a direct one.
Well, I certainly hope that that's the worst that we have here.
How strong does that high look to you? I mean, is it going to stick around and do its thing?
It's a very substantial high. It's been controlling the motion of the storm for several days. And as far as we can tell, it's going to continue to control the motion of the storm for another couple of days, certainly until it hits Florida.
Are they all dancing in place, or is one apt to move? One be stronger than the other and move the other one?
Well, all of the major circulation features that we look at seem to be anchored in place at the moment.
But there's always the chance, I suspect.
Well, there's always an uncertainty when it comes to hurricane prediction, and in this case, since we are forecasting almost a due west motion into South Florida, I hope we're wrong.
Well, I hope so, too. I would love to have all of us be wrong about this. We look forward to the advisory, especially at 5 o'clock in the morning. Of course, Eyewitness News will be on the air to bring that to you. Thank you, Miles, very much. Try and have a restful night. But we will bring you the latest information. Of course, if they change that and upgrade it to any degree at 5 o'clock in the morning, Eyewitness News will be right here to let you know just as soon as it's done. And right now, we're going to go back out to Eyewitness News reporter Linda Hushin, who's joining us from Fort Lauderdale with more on how South Florida is preparing for Andrew. They're going to be preparing all night, I think, Linda, as are we.
I'm sure they will be. As you know, many grocery stores and drug stores are open 24 hours. This Rite Aid store near the 17th Street Causeway generally closes at 9 o'clock. They closed just a few minutes ago, however, trying to stay open a little bit later to accommodate those concerned Broward County residents who are afraid that Hurricane Andrew just might stop in for a visit. Now, for those people who started shopping earlier today, they had fairly good luck getting everything they needed. It was a different story tonight. However, many stores started running out of supplies like water. In fact, this store, right before it closed, had to bring in a fresh supply.
I didn't plan on running out of water today, but it looks that way.
How's the rest of the supplies holding out?
Batteries are real low, but we're working on getting more of those. We're working on getting everything that everybody needs. Hopefully we'll have it first thing tomorrow morning.
Designer water, designer hurricane.
No, batteries.
What kind of battery?
Size D.
They were all out? Where do you go now?
I don't know, home, I guess.
He said that there wasn't a stick of wood left in Home Depot, not just plywood. He had some, sheets of plywood. He said, but any kind of wood. Like Home Depot was sold out of wood.
We have a 1-year-old baby this time for hurricane precautions, and we also have a little pet cat that lives outside, so I'm stocking up for both. And it sounds serious.
So as you can see, some people had luck, some people didn't. The stores all along the coast tonight are stocking up again, getting ready for another onslaught tomorrow morning. Home Depots say that they will be extending their hours tomorrow from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. Maybe they'll have some more plywood tomorrow as well, Ann.
I'm sure they will, Linda. I'm sure everybody's going to have to stock up, all the drugstores and all the home unit places. Do they feel that they can get it in time to help the people? Do most people say they'll be fully restocked tomorrow?
Well, they're hoping that they're going to be fully restocked tomorrow. At this point, it's a little hard for most of them to be able to tell whether or not they're going to be able to pull that off, but they're certainly going to effort it.
All right, Linda, thank you for that live report, and we'll get back to you again later. Once again, remember, if you have any questions about the hurricane, questions we haven't answered, evacuations, or any information that you need to know, please call the rumor control hotlines in Dade County. That number, once again, is 596-8735. You might want to write these down. And in Broward, it is 357-8454. And perhaps we'll have them on our screen in just a moment for you. I guess we're not, but in Broward, call 289-6018 or toll-free number 1-800-427-8340. And now we're going to Louis Aguirre, who you know is watching the boat people who are trying to get their things together. Louis, how are they doing?
Well, the boat people are still out here. Not too many of them right now. We saw the majority of them earlier on tonight. Take a look at the marina right now. You see some of the slips are empty right now. Many people not waiting until the last minute, shipping out tonight, looking for that safer harbor. The whole day, ever since that hurricane watch came out at 5 o'clock tonight, even before then, people heading to the marinas to secure their boats.
Hurricane Andrew may still be miles away from South Florida, but many Miami boat owners didn't waste any time in going out to secure their boats tonight, and with good reason.
If the storm moves in to the Dade County area, which is very, very possible, we're looking at that storm moving in early on Monday, which means that they have to do whatever they're going to do with that boat early on Sunday, and then look at forgetting it.
And many folks we spoke to have no intentions of forgetting about anything.
I wouldn't want to have to be here Monday morning trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my boat.
So you went ahead and came tonight and started preparing?
Well, I prepared. I've got everything off that I need, that I think is important, that won't get ruined in the storm, and then I'll try to move the boat and find someplace safe for it.
Boaters at Dinner Key, like many other South Florida marinas, really don't have a choice in the matter. The contract here specifically says that in the event of a hurricane, all boats must ship out.
If we have a surge at about 14 to 16 feet, I think that the boat will pop up and will be loose.
And then what will happen?
And then they're going to have a lot of insurance, because there's going to be a lot of damage done to the marina as well as the buildings.
Tonight, owners of smaller boats had no problems pulling their vessels from the water, but it's a different story for bigger boats, and the choices on where to take them aren't many. Now, if you own a boat in Dade County, trying to secure it along the Miami River is just not an option. There simply aren't enough slips, and the river, well, it's congested enough as it is. Where are you guys going to go, you know?
Just somewhere south. Try to get as far away from other boats as we can, and either anchor or tie up in the mangroves.
A risk some boat owners aren't willing to take. Many say they're not budging.
There's nowhere safer. There's nowhere safer than this.
But it can be
nowhere
pretty
we can go.
dangerous. If you have a storm surge here, I mean, your boat's
There's a
history.
storm surge everywhere.
A lot of people we spoke with feel the same way. There's no safer place than right here at the marina. Folks here at the marina are well aware of the problem. They're going to meet first thing tomorrow morning and try and see if there's something they can do about it. If not, then if something should happen and these boats are washed ashore by the storm surge, whatever damage that boat causes to the marina or the surrounding buildings, then the boat owner is responsible for that. And back to you.
It's a very difficult time for boat owners. There just aren't enough places to keep them all
That's
that are
right.
a safe harbor. Thank you, Louis, for that live report. And we'd like now to go back to Patty Oates, who's standing by live at the Emergency Operations Center in Kendall. They're the people who are trying to prepare everything for all of us, aren't they, Patty?
Ann, I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I am down in the pit at the Office of the Emergency Management, what they affectionately call the pit. It's pretty empty right now. The desks are fairly empty. The phone's quiet here. But tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., it will be filled with representatives of Dade County. The decision makers will include the county manager, representatives from police and fire, Marine Patrol, Florida Power and Light, and Southern Bell, all to monitor the storm's progress. It is now on the verge of a Category 3 storm. Let's see if we can take a look at the Saffir-Simpson scale. Right now, we are at a Category 2 storm, which is 96 to 110 miles an hour. Category 3, 111 to 130. Category 4, up to 155. And a Category 5, the big storm, is above 155 miles an hour. Now, the big questions at Rumor Control tonight: do I need to evacuate? So far, there is no order yet, as Director Kate Hale told us just a little while ago.
Because we've got people living in much higher structures now than in the past. If they don't have shutters on those windows and sliding glass doors, or the structures, again, the higher up you go, the more wind vulnerable you are, the higher the intensity of the wind at higher elevations.
Okay, now that is Director Kate Hale talking not about the evacuation order, but about the fact that the storm surge is certainly a very dangerous part of a storm here, but also the increasing winds. And as the condominiums have grown ever taller, that presents even more of a threat to people along with the storm surge. The evacuation order has not been issued yet, although we understand at the moment the director of the Hurricane Center, Bob Sheets, is on the phone with both Monroe, Dade, and Broward County Offices of Emergency Management to talk about a voluntary evacuation. That is not the mandatory evacuation that we're talking about, possibly as early as 6 to 7 in the morning, but they are discussing the possibility of a voluntary evacuation beginning sometime soon. That is not confirmed yet. We have one other note here, a media advisory that asks from the Dade County Building and Zoning Department, urging all contractors working in Dade County to immediately clear their working sites of all debris and secure all their construction materials. They emphasize immediately. All loose objects, it says, must be secure or removed from construction sites. And again, we will keep you posted if indeed we get word of any kind of a voluntary evacuation, though we understand lots of cars already are coming out of the Florida Keys heading for higher ground. Ann?
All right, Patty, that construction thing is certainly necessary, because you think of the boards and the nails and the sand and everything that's lying around a construction site can be very dangerous to the neighborhood. So I imagine at sunrise a lot of people are going to be out moving that stuff away.
Exactly. Well, what they're hoping, I think, is that that stuff will be cleared away before any kind of an evacuation would begin, so that that's not in the way of the progress, so that the people who are trying to move their stuff are not getting in the way of people who are actually trying to evacuate.
What about the mandatory evacuation? If that order is issued, can you hear me all right, Patty?
I can hear you a little bit, Ann.
Well, I'll speak louder. The mandatory evacuation route, does that mean somebody has to move? I mean, is it against the law if they decide they don't want to leave? Or is that a question that you really don't know the answer to?
No, I don't have all the details to that. We've had a lot of people calling Rumor Control saying, my grandmother's an elderly person, she refuses to move, what do we do? What we're hearing people saying so far is that there is no order and not to worry about it at this point. Certainly if there are so many people who are saying we're not going to go, there aren't enough people to go out and get those people and tell them that you have to go. They're hoping that these people will go of their own volition. We will try to find out more about this in the event that some people actually just flat out say, I'm not going to go.
Well, I'm sure the ones who are cautious are making that move. At Rumor Control, are those most of the questions they're asking about evacuation?
Most of the questions they're asking certainly are, where is this storm? How big is this storm? When is it supposed to hit? And am I supposed to head out of here? Right now, they're not telling anybody that they have to go. If this is indeed a Category 3 storm, we're looking at people essentially, I don't know if we have that map up that we can show you, people essentially east of Biscayne Boulevard and east of parts of US 1.
Patty, we don't have that map. We have the Rumor Control numbers. Can you hold that map up a little bit? Can you see it, or do you just have the coordinates there?
I can look around here and see if I can find that map for you. Don't have
While you're looking, we lost the rumor control numbers. Let's put those back up again if we can, please, so that people who haven't had a chance to write them down can. In Dade, of course, it's 596-8735, and in Broward, the number to call is 357-8454. And Patty has the map, and that's great. We have a picture of it. Can you explain it to us, Patty? Who needs to go and when?
Well, I can tell you a little bit about it. The people who live in the areas that are red need to head out in just about any kind of a hurricane, and everybody in a mobile home also. Okay, there, I think we have a better map up for you. People who live in the yellow section, those are the residents for Category 2 or greater who need to get out, and that's essentially east of Biscayne Boulevard all the way over to the Atlantic Ocean, and that in blue is for Category 4 and 5, and that includes a big part of South Dade, south of 200th Street, and right now what they're looking at, the possibility certainly of a Category 3 storm.
All right, Patty, thank you for that live report. And of course, we'll be talking to you throughout the night. There is still much more to come on Eyewitness News, and when we come back, we'll check on how the Dolphins did tonight against the Tampa Bucks. We'll be right back.
The perfect parents. Life is not a game. The perfect kids.
He followed me home.
The perfect family for Mazda Mania 2. Summer's premier sales event. Now get $1,000 cash back from Mazda on a Mazda MPV. Don't miss these gargantuan values.
It's back!
Don't miss Mazda Mania 2. Get $1,000 cash back on a new Mazda MPV now.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, we've seen it.
Have you tried extra classic bubblegum?
We've tried it.
And do you love it? We love that great classic bubblegum flavor. Everyone's trying extra classic bubblegum with NutraSweet. Classic bubblegum flavor that lasts an extra long time. So if you still haven't tried it, you're missing a tremendous breakthrough. Get classic bubblegum flavor that lasts an extra long time.
Joining us now by phone, Petty Officer Edward Lawrence of the United States Coast Guard. He is stationed in Key West. And can you hear me all right, Officer Lawrence?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
What's it like down there? Are people concerned? There's no place to go in Key West but north.
Yes, ma'am. We're currently getting quite a few concerned calls for people who have folks out fishing, and we are currently broadcasting updated hurricane information from the National Weather Service. And we've been doing quite a few call-outs for vessels, informing them that their relatives are concerned and that it's possibly a good time to head in.
Well, we know a great deal about what Civil Defense does and what the Red Cross does, but what are the primary duties of the Coast Guard in a situation like this?
The primary duties of the Coast Guard are to get the word out to people and marinas, vessels underway, and inform them of the position of the hurricane and its possible track. And then we're also securing our bases and our Coast Guard vessels so that we can respond after the hurricane has passed or to any urgent situations during the hurricane.
Are you talking about commercial freighters and things of that sort who might be in our area? You're in contact with them and talk to them, or are you talking about private ships?
We're talking to commercial and private vessels. Just anybody on the water we're passing the information to, and we'll respond to all requests for search and rescue to the best of our ability.
You ever been through anything like this before?
I have been through one hurricane in New London, Connecticut last year.
You're an old hand at this then.
Not really.
Well, let's hope that your services are not necessary and that maybe we'll just get that glancing blow.
Yes,
Petty Officer Edward Lawrence of the Coast Guard, thank you so much for joining us now on Eyewitness News.
You're welcome.
And it would have been very nice for the Dolphins. had they had Hurricane Andrew to blame for whatever happened to them tonight?
I'll tell you what, they were concerned about it before the game. I was actually sitting with some of the players, and these guys aren't keeping their minds on football. They're thinking about how they're going to board up their homes. Exactly. And some bad news also for the Dolphins. Cornerback Troy Vincent, the rookie, tore a hamstring in his left leg. He says it'll be up to him whether he comes back for the opening game against the New England Patriots. A beautiful night at Joe Robbie, not on the stat board, however. Quarterback Dan Marino did not have one of his best performances for the second week in a row, taking on the Tampa Bay Bucks. It was a case of penalties for the Dolphins and a blocked pass, getting Dan Marino in some trouble. Sometimes, however, he did connect. He finds Mark Duper here, buying his own time, then watch Duper buy the yardage, beating the entire Tampa Bay secondary for 51 yards. Couldn't get in the end zone, had to settle for a field goal. Pete Stoyanovich missed 2 in the first half, connected on 2, putting them up 6-0 as they went to the locker room. Defense played pretty well. Brian Cox, again, taking down Vinny Testaverde for the sack. Same thing, though, about the Tampa Bay defense. Bobby Humphrey just wrapped up around the neck for a loss of 2 by Reggie Rogers. Also down near the goal line, Humphrey couldn't make it after a timeout. Stopped short. Dolphins couldn't get into the end zone. Vinny Testaverde, is he ever going to be a good NFL quarterback? Looked like it at times tonight, avoiding the sack in the hands of Marco Coleman. Finds his own time and then goes to Mizio Royster for the 14-yard gain. What did Royster do after that? Well, from the 1-yard line, he goes up the middle and for the touchdown. The Bucs are up 7-6 at that point. Miami, however, got a touchdown from James Saxon and Mike Williams. The Dolphins win the game 22-7. Next up, they will play the New Orleans Saints in Baltimore on Thursday night. One other note there, the Dolphins have signed holdout fullback Tony Page. We'll have more on tonight's game, and Page is signing tomorrow. For the first time in a while, the Hurricanes are being upstaged by a real hurricane, but I bet Andrew isn't a national title contender like the Miami Hurricanes atop the AP preseason poll. Number 2, Washington, the co-champs from a year ago. You can see Florida and Florida State 4-5. Syracuse rounds out the top 10. Now, tomorrow, the Canes are supposed to hold their Family Day scrimmage. As of yet, it is not canceled, but if things should keep going as they are, there's a good chance that it will be postponed. We'll let you know about that.
Okay, it's kind of depressing to see the Dolphins play like this, isn't it?
When they've only got one more preseason game before it starts for real.
Okay, John, thank you. We're going now to the National Hurricane Center and Miles Lawrence for the latest report. Miles?
They don't have it. They don't have
He's not ready. Miles is not ready. You can see he's looking at a map, but he will be ready and give us the latest details just as soon as he has them all coordinated there at the National Hurricane Center. You know, the National Hurricane Center is located in Coral Gables, and people all over the world are tapping into it now to find out the very latest details. And I think Miles is ready now, so we're going to him.
Hurricane Andrew is located a little over 500 miles east of Miami, Florida at this time. It is moving due westward, about 14 miles per hour. Highest winds are 110 miles per hour. They've picked up a little bit, and there is a potential for continued strengthening during the next day or so. We have a hurricane warning up for the northwestern Bahama Islands. We have a hurricane watch up for Florida from Titusville southward through the Florida Keys. We will probably be putting up a hurricane warning for some portion of the watch area in Florida on Sunday morning.
All right, Miles, thank you very much. And now for a last look before we end this program, we're going once again to Don Noe at the map. Don?
All right, and this is the well, we have in just a moment the very latest picture. First, we'll take one more look at the coordinates. If you are writing them down and wanted to know which way the storm is moving, we just mentioned Miles Lawrence says it's moving west at 14 miles per hour, 110-mile-an-hour winds. It's a strong Category 2 storm, almost a Category 3, and that would push it over the threshold to major storm. 25.6 north, 71.9 west. Now, what's interesting to note about these numbers is the latitude has actually come down a little bit. In other words, the storm has dipped just slightly south of due west in the last couple of numbers here, not appreciably, but it may be a trend that be continuing. Longitude 71.9 west, those numbers have continued to climb, now 520 miles east of Miami. Here's a satellite image I want to show you, and what it's going to show you is the huge area of convective activity around the eye of the storm. All right, well, all right, this is another loop. We can take a look at this one first. This one is moving to the north here. Now it's beginning to move to the west. That is Andrew, and it took a real sharp turn, and it continues in that direction. So initially we were hoping and thinking that the storm was going to miss us by a mile. It stopped, it slowed down. The reason is because of this high pressure you've been hearing so much about. You see all that light blue area up there? That's clearing of the clouds caused by this large high pressure wedge which extends east and west across the country, and that is moving the storm now more to the west instead of to the north as we thought. Now let's go to our graphic 8 picture, if we can talk to the director just a second. I'll show you what is out there. This is the very late, nope, I'm sorry, we don't have that. Can we go to the radar on graphic 9? We'll put up the radar and we'll show you an image out there. If we can do that, if not, all right, it's coming up in just a second here. I want to show you what the radar image is doing. And, all right, this is not the radar, but it's getting close to it here. This is what we looked at before. While we're waiting for the radar, what we're hoping to do is to show you which way the showers were moving, but apparently we're not going to be able to do that. It's too bad. You must understand we're doing everything as time goes on here live. So, fortunately, we do have the forecast to show you. The winds are going to be increasing, but we really don't care about the boating forecast because no one's going to be doing any recreational boating. Scattered showers here for the rest of the night. Tomorrow, partly cloudy in the morning, becoming cloudy and breezy in the afternoon, the high 89. And the outlook now for the next couple of days. Monday is the day we will have hurricane conditions probable somewhere on the Florida coast, maybe right here in South Florida. Tuesday, much better. Highs will be in the 80s. And that's it for me now. Ann?
Okay, thank you, Don. And that is our report for now. We are going to continue to keep you apprised of the situation and the exact whereabouts of Andrew throughout the night. We'll be reporting every 15 minutes. You'll be able to check in on the very latest details every 15 minutes throughout the night. And of course, tomorrow morning, we're going to be bringing you a special edition of This Week in South Florida with Michael Putney. Eyewitness News tracks Andrew. Remember, stick with us throughout the night. Don't panic, don't be frightened, but be prepared. For now, good night. We'll be back very soon.
There's only one Eyewitness News, South Florida's #1 choice for news and information on the one and only Channel 10.
I have no idea what's going to happen to me, and I love it.
Next, Donahue, stepping out with the incomparable Miss Liza Minnelli.
What was it like growing up with your wonderful mother?
I was wondering what it was like to have worked with Sammy Davis Jr.
How do you feel about working with Frank Sinatra?
How is it working with Robert De Niro?
Is there anyone you haven't worked with that you'd like to?
Life Among the Stars with award-winning Liza Minnelli. Next, Donahue.
Donahue, Monday at 9, only on 10.
It's a great way to meet the dawn of a new day.
Direct from ABC, we'll have the very latest news and information from around the world. I'm Mike Schneider. Join me for World News This Morning, beginning at 5:30, right here on the one and only Channel 10.
Eyewitness News Daybreak immediately follows at 6. I'm Art Carlson along with Peggy Lewis.
Join us and the entire Eyewitness News team for an up-to-the-minute look at your part of South Florida.
Friends you depend on. Mike Schneider, Art Carlson, and Peggy Lewis. Monday morning, only on Channel 10.